I am on the air. Welcome. I'm Shalonda Gibson. I'm your conversation starter for this evening. Welcome to my Speak Success Lab. I am so glad that you decided to join us. Here in the Speak Success Lab, we share stories of vocal athletes, people who have had real success, real failure, real successes and exciting things happening in life. You might have some ups, you might have some downs, but either way, our guests on the Speak Success Lab have maintained a consistent pursuit of their purpose. And that is something that is so very important. No matter what you're doing, no matter who you are, what your path is in life, you must be consistent in your pursuit of purpose. And this is a platform for real people to have real conversations about their journeys in life. And I'm sure we all started out somewhere at some point in time with a dream. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream. You have a dream. We all have a dream. And I'm just kind of being silly about it. But no, seriously, we all do have some sort of a dream. We never thought our life would take us here, or we are where we thought we always wanted to be, but maybe we feel like it's not what we thought it would feel like. Either way, I think having dreams, having purpose, having fears, having failures, those are things that glue us together regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, your geographical location. And I'm just so excited to talk today about the power of reinvention. I think it's so important. And I like to start out with a quote. So before I get into any of that, let's start with my quote for today. Every day that we wake up is an opportunity for us to do things all over again, to do things better. So if you pinch yourself and you're alive, if you're breathing, that means you have a second chance. Whatever happened to you yesterday, it doesn't matter because it didn't harm you. And if it did harm you, it didn't kill you. So you have another chance to do things better. And with that said, we'll get into the topic for this evening. Again, that's reinvention. And because I believe in the power of words, hence speak success. I believe that we have the power to speak our success. As a man thinketh is he. So whatever is going on in our mind, in our soul, it's going to be reflected in the things that we say. It's reflected in the things we do and the choices we make. So you can choose to speak success no matter your background, your situation, how you started out, whatever the circumstance, you have the power to speak success. So I believe in the power of words. And the word for today is reinvention. And I'll go by definition. I don't want to misquote Mr. Webster at all. But to reinvent means to change something so much it appears to be entirely new. And then I thought about it really. So to change something so much that it appears to be entirely new. Is that something that we want to say? Because we're born, I believe, with a purpose, and we already have a predetermined destination. And I think some things in life can stop us and block us. But at the end of the day, we are created the way we're created for a certain reason. We like what we like for certain reasons. We do, and we gravitate toward things for specific reasons. So do we want to really be somebody that we're not? Or do we just want to realign with who we already are? And so let's talk about the word realign. Change, it means to change or restore to a different or former position or state. And that kind of sounds good. So if we could blend those two somehow, I think we could come up with it. So to reinvent yourself is simply to realign yourself, to get in touch with who you are, and to figure out in all of this hustle and bustle and all of this noise of the world and people telling us who we are and who we should be, to go back to square one, to press reset on your mind, your body, your spirit, and to get back to oneness and to get back to wholeness. And the guest that we have tonight, I feel like she just reinvented herself. She embodies courage. She embodies just following what it means to follow your intuition and to reinvent yourself and to change your life. After 20 years of helping other people tell their story, my guest, Tara Roberson, changed her own story. And she just actually did a phenomenal thing. Most people think about telling their story or changing their story, but they get stuck. They get stuck in life some kind of way. And this awesome person, hi Tara, she's on with us now. I'm finishing your intro. So Tara has a journey and she's done some wonderful, wonderful things. And I'll let her tell you her story because she can tell it a whole lot better than I can. But what stands out to me about you, Tara, is how you started out. And I noticed that you moved to LA in 2007, and then 7 years later, which if you're into numerology, 7 is the number of completion, right? So 7 years later, you just said, this is not really working for me. And you just did something totally different. And so go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself. I want to hear, before we do anything else, they need to know your journey.
Absolutely. Hold on one quick second. I have double service. I was going to make sure that I was on tonight and my computer was acting up, so I apologize. I have to log out on the phone. Okay. I think I did it. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, so while she's logging on.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Good. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. So you were asking me about my journey and about my story.
Yes.
I am a little girl from Northeast Houston, off of Homestead Road to be particular. And I always love telling people stories. I always love telling stories. And to be quite frank with you, when I graduated high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I was afraid. So guess what I did? I got a degree in mortuary science. Completely opposite of what was in my heart, but there was a fear there. What if I couldn't do it? What if I couldn't break into the business? So I spent about 1.5 years doing that program, and I realized a few things. One, you either had to have a father who was a funeral director, you had to be married to one, or you had to be willing to sleep with one. So very quickly at 19 years old, I reinvented myself. So I guess I've been reinventing myself before I even knew what I really was doing. Exactly. At that time, I joined, I went to the University of Houston, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give this journalism thing a try. And that's where it all sparked. I went in writing for the college paper, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be a writer. This is what I want to do. I'm going to, get my Pulitzer Prize and all those things. And my last semester of college, I decided, you know what, let me try this TV thing just to make sure it's not what I want to do. Well, lo and behold, here we are some 20 years later, and it was the thing that I wanted to do, was the thing I was most passionate about. It was a thing that allowed me to express myself and to be open and engage with people. I am one of those folks who I've had people get upset with me and say, do you ever meet a stranger? And I'm like, no, not really. I like people. And, I think like with anyone, I don't live there all the time. I have my moments when I'm like, just give me quiet. But as a whole, I like people. Mm-hmm. And so my first job in television was on the Deborah Duncan show, when she used to have her show at Channel 13. I did that for about 1.5 years or 2. And then I entered into a very interesting world of syndicated television, which is I started working for a court show. And that led me to my first run in Los Angeles. So I worked here for about 4 years and worked really hard, got to know a lot of amazing people who were in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So when it was time for a pilot to be done, the executive producer tapped myself and my producing partner to come with her to LA and actually do shows. So that was in 2004. They sent that show back, and I was on that show from 2004 until 2007. And at that time, I'm like, I've done it all. My AP, they would come into my office and pitch stories to me. So what happens, they get on the phone and they book guests. And so then they have to come and tell the producer, so here's who I booked. I booked a lady and she's suing her ex-boyfriend because she says, and I'm like, let me guess, he didn't pay back the loan that she gave him. And it was based on the fact that he's got a new girlfriend who says you don't owe her anything. And they're like, how did you know? I'm like, I've done it. I've done all these stories. So after having done so many stories, I was like, I need a challenge. And that's when I decided to use the contacts that I'd made at that very first job at Deborah Duncan. And my friend at the time got me a job on the Dr. Phil show. So that was my first tour of duty, because I did go back twice. That was my first tour of duty. And I went out there and I did that job for about 1.5 years. And I was like, okay, this is different. Very, very different. And at that point, I actually was courted back to Houston for 1 year to work on Judge Alex as a supervising producer. Then not even 1 year later, I was back in Los Angeles because they moved the show to LA. So my journey has been a lot of moving around, but at the time it definitely felt like these were the right moves. And I don't look back at any of them, even though some of them proved to be some of the most difficult times of my life, you know, like absolutely difficult times. I don't look back at them now and say like, oh my God, why did I do that? You know, it's truly, those were the building blocks to get me to where I am right now. And so, you know, there's a song, if I had to do it all again, like if I had to do it all again, I would, you know, all the pain, all the crazy, all the fun times, because I've met some amazing people. I'm a great party guest because I have great stories to tell. So, you know, I mean, that pretty much set me up, got me out there. And then in, gosh, what year? We're in 2016 now. So in about 2013, I started thinking, there's got to be more. It's got to be better. I have a daughter who's now 12. And at that time, she was about 8 or 9. And she was spending her weekends with the babysitter. The babysitter was picking her up from school, or she was hanging out with her friends on the weekend because I was working so much. You know, my commitment to my job was not bigger than my commitment to my daughter, but I was a single mom. I'm out there. Her father lives in a different state, so she lives with him in the summer. But as far as those 9 months out of the year, it's me. So I just started thinking, what kind of life do I want? What do I want it to look like? And that's when I started getting real with myself. You know, we kind of talked about this the other day, and I think we so easily say, it's all good, I got this. No, you don't. No, you don't.
And do you think it was easy to fall into that place because you had, and I'll say this in quotes, the dream job, the dream career? Some people would die or kill to get that position.
Absolutely. And bigger than that, Shirley, is you have those people who try to tell you it's okay. That's a good job. Like, what are you talking about? People, like you said, people would die for this job. People want this job. They would love to be in your position. And I get that. And I was never ungrateful. It never came from a place of being ungrateful. I walked around, and for many a years, I never called myself a single mom, especially when I was here, because I had a village, and I know what real single motherhood looks like. So when I say single motherhood, I mean specifically, I did not have a partner. It's my story, not my daughter's, because she's got a father, she's got a relationship with her dad. I was a single woman who had a child. So for me, it just, you know, and I found myself listening to the crowd for a long time, a really long time. And there were times where in 2011 and in 2012, I wanted to move, but people were like, well, but, you know, I remember in particular one conversation I had with my dad, and I said, you know, I'm thinking about coming back to Houston. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll teach. And that's no disrespect to teachers, because I know teachers feel that people say things like, oh, you know, you'll be a teacher as an easy way out. No, but I knew I had something to offer. And so then my daddy tells me this story about a dog with a bone. And he said, I want to tell you a story about a dog with a bone. There's a dog walking over the bridge, and he's got a bone in his mouth. And he looks over at the water, and then he drops his bone because he wants to go down there and get it. But what he didn't realize is it was his own reflection. And so he was like, you think there's something more for you, but you pretty much have it already, right? And I was like, okay, Daddy, I'm gonna dig back in. I'm gonna dig back in. I'm gonna make LA work. Mm-hmm. And so that then thrust me, a couple more years. But I just started thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I started praying. And I can honestly say that there was, and this may sound very weird to think about, but God puts these things on my heart. Okay. And I saw the life that I'm living right now. Okay. But what was in between that was a whole lot of giving up. Meaning, I got this for you, but in the meantime, you're going to have to give up a whole lot to get here. And what seemed like a whole lot to me at the time.
And when you say you saw it, what does that mean? Because people, they say things like, I saw it, or I had this vision. So what is
so I'll give you one of my visions, and this one will freak you the heck out. Okay, so before I left Los Angeles, as I'm seeing these visions, I see a house, and I see a man in the house, and I particularly see there's a living room space, and there's a kitchen, and there's a man in black. And so I start saying, okay, God, you let me know. I'm going to give me a house when I get to Texas. Hey, mama going to have a house, right? That's what I see.
Right.
So fast forward to me meeting Reginald, my fiance. And on the day that we were about to go to our first date, I'm driving and I said, oh my God, that's the man in the kitchen. One of the companies he owns is a catering company. Okay. So we're at dinner that first night, and I said, look, I'm not trying to freak you out, but I saw a man in the kitchen.
You're the man in the kitchen.
And I think you might be that man in the kitchen.
Right.
So he sits back in his seat, and I'm like, oh, damn, I done lost him. He's like, she's crazy. I'm done. I'm leaving. And so he then leans in, and I'm like, what are you thinking? And he says, you just described my house. Like, you just described what my house looks like. He said, but my kitchen is on the opposite side, but it's the, I'm like, and now I'm scared, right? Because I'm like, oh, damn, he's the man in the kitchen. He's the man in the kitchen. But when I look back to that vision, and I can see it as clearly as day, I know I was laying in my bed in Los Angeles, and I'm like, what would it look like, God? Like, what does this life look like? And truly, this is one of those pieces. I specifically wanted a job that I kept saying, I want a job that's transferable. I want all of my skills that I've ever learned to transfer into a job. And I'll be damned if my job that I have right now does not transfer into everything. But as we've spoken about, I think a lot of people see this part, they see my bow tied up around my box.
Yes.
My God. But what they don't know is they don't know what's on the inside. And they don't know what pieces and parts had to come together in order for that box to even close and then be taped and then get wrapped and then get the bow on top. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I want to talk about, because the whole term of reinventing myself, as I told you, I wasn't even thinking about reinventing. I was just thinking, I gotta live. Like, I have to stay alive, and I have to take care of myself, and I have a child to take care of. And so that in mind is what catapulted me to making the decisions that basically got me to where I am right now. So, and I don't know, do you want to, I can keep going, or do you want to ask questions, or how do you want me?
Because you're so awesome at this. But like you said, you've said so many nuggets already, but you talked about what's inside the box, and many people don't know. And then you talked about two things. You talked about the box, people not knowing, and then on our phone conversation, and I thought it was so powerful because I feel like so many people are in this place. And as a matter of fact, when we got off the phone, I had a friend who called me, and she was in that same position. And because we had the conversation, mm-hmm. I was able to tell her, girl, look, you're not alone. These are some things that you can do. It's really real. So talk about that feeling. Talk about that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die the spiritual death if I don't get out of here. Is that in the box? Or
that's in the box. Oh my God, that's in the box, because what's there, what you see on the outside is me dressed up every day with my heels on, and I go to my job and I'm professional and I do what I need to do. But on the inside, I'm like, I am not fulfilled. I am miserable. I feel like I'm a horrible mother. I'm away from my family. I had all these things that I was carrying around because I have to give 110% here. Because remember, there's no safety net for the single girl. There's none. You know what I mean? Like, note to self, that's the title for my book right there.
Right.
There we go, right there. But there's no safety net. So I have to work. I have to get out there. I have to make it happen. But on the inside, I was like, I'm not fulfilled. This ain't what I want to be doing. I can't see myself doing this at 50. I can't see myself. This is not the move. This is not what I want to do. And I just remember sitting at my desk one day and I was texting with a girlfriend. And here's the thing that people don't tell you about working in LA and living in LA. Most people have the same desire and journey. It's the same. Like when you talk about it, and even the ones that you do see on television, they talk about canceled shows and, you know, political this and that and not being paid fair wages. Those are real issues, you know? So if you can think about a Jennifer Lawrence not getting paid her just due, like just imagine the little man there who's just trying to work a job. So there are so many issues that come with living that life and working in that industry out there. But I was at my desk and I'm just, you know, we're texting back and forth because it becomes a support system. You know, you either praying via text or you calling, you making it, girl, you all right? Because everybody lives the same life. Yeah. It just is what it is, you know? And so we're texting and I told her, I'm like, I feel that if I'm in the same place next year, I will die. Like my soul, you know what I mean? So I felt that something was eroding, like my soul is like going away. I got to get out of this. I have to find a way out. And so I started thinking. And so here's what I have on my plate. I've got my daughter who loves her friends and loves her schools. Now, because I told you in 2009, I moved back to Houston. And then in 2010, I moved back to Los Angeles. I got my little suitcase, right? My little luggage. She comes with. So that means she's now moved from here to there and back to, you know, a lot of moving around. Mm-hmm. And so I had made the decision that I didn't want to move her again. So I made her a vow from second grade until that fifth grade, you'll stay in one place. Okay. So mama's over here dying. But I had made a promise to my child that I was not going to move her. I was not going to disrupt her life and make her leave her friends. So by the time she's finishing fourth grade, I have to start thinking. Because in Los Angeles, 9 times out of 10, by the time they get to middle school, every kid goes to a different school. Okay, so if I'm going to make a break, I got to make it clean and easy, because 9 times out of 10, she was going to go to a different place from her friends anyway. So starting over would not have been as hard as me saying in 5th grade, now you go meet a whole new group of friends. So I have a timeline, which means I have to get working, right? And so I'm there. So this would have brought us to the fall of 2013, because this would have been her 5th grade year. And I'm praying and I'm thinking, and I'm like, God, you got to show me a way. You have to do what you got to do. And so then I'm working, and work is just, it's stressful. It's stressful. And not only is there stress at my work environment, there's also stress in the work I do. I worked in talk, meaning I booked people in highly volatile situations to come on and share their stories. Mm-hmm. Okay. These are people who've not been committed to their husbands or wives in some cases. So why are they going to be committed to this producer lady and keep their word that they're going to get on the plane? Right? So there's no problem with, look, it was not unusual for me to get a call at 3 or 4 in the morning. You know, this person didn't get on the plane, or this person is missing. Like again, I'm a great party guest because I have like really crazy stories to tell about people. And then I then decided, like, you know what, this is not working. The end of this month will mark 2 years of me sitting at my desk one day, and I start having some kind of pain up on my left side. And I said, okay, all right, Lord, is this a stroke? Is this how I'm going out? Like, am I going to have a stroke? And I talked to my supervisor and I said, look, I got to go to the hospital. I leave, I go to the hospital, and the doctor says, he does a battery of tests, and he's like, I think I know what it is, but I'm going to do a blood test. He checked that, and he goes, I think I know, but let me check one more thing. And then he comes back, he says, you're having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I told this man, I said, sir, I breathe. Like, what are you talking about? I said, I breathe through stressful situations. He's like, your body knows your stress. Your body knows what's happening and what's going on. So that started me thinking, you pretty much you're playing with fire now, because now it's not just like the stress of the job, but it's like you having medical issues now, And I talked to one of my girlfriends who also works on talk shows, and she was as real as she could be. And she said, well, who's going to take care of Missy when you in a corner with drool coming down your mouth because you done had a stroke?
No statement. Yes.
I said, well, damn, because again, being real, because we BS ourselves, and I'm talking myself through, but I can do it. I mean, you only have a few more months, and then we go on hiatus, and you get recharged, and you come back, and I can. And when she said that, I'm like, that's real, and that started the wheels turning a bit more. And in March of 2014, I called my mom. Because, again, this is my barometer. Remember, I called my dad a couple of years before, and he told me about the dog and the bone, and I got to stay where I am, right?
Okay, girl, don't you quit that good job.
Exactly. So then we moved 2 years ahead. And what they've had to see, though, is this is making you crazy. Like, you are crazy. You are away from your family. You are there with that baby. And what if something happens? So now they've seen that over these 2 years, right? So when I talked to her, I said, what if I told you that I found my dream job, I met the man of my dreams, and I'm getting married, and it's all in Houston? And she's like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm happy. Ooh. And I said, okay, stop. I said, first of all, you excited because I said something about getting married. I said, I'm not getting married. I don't have a man. I ain't got a job. I said, but I want to come home. And she was like, come on. And that gave me the freedom to then do what I needed to do. Okay. So again, remember those three things. I got my dream job, my dream man, and I'm getting married. None of those things were, but as we're talking about speaking success.
Yes.
Okay. Again, back to those little visions and what I'm meditating on in my heart. If I were to just be honest, those were the things that I was praying for. Those were the things that I wanted in my life. And they didn't exist, but those were what I wanted. So it didn't mean that I could not talk about them. It didn't mean that I couldn't finally start putting it out there in the air, because this right here that I'm living, this ain't working, right? And so I started putting the plan in motion. I made a visit to Houston for Easter of 2014 because I've visited town before, and it hasn't felt right. It hasn't felt like it was the right time. But I came and it was like, oh my God, this feels good. Now, once I had that conversation with my mom in March, just to kind of backtrack, I looked online to see what jobs were in TV, because I figure I'll get a TV job, right? And then I saw one job description at a TV station here, and I saw it and I freaked out. I'm like, no, I don't want to work in TV. I'm going to go work at Starbucks. Like, again, no disrespect to Starbucks, but I wanted to unplug. Here's what I wanted to do. When I left my counter at Starbucks, you couldn't call me in my car or call me at my house about your coffee and the way it was made. You know what I mean? I wanted to disconnect. And unfortunately, the jobs that I'd worked had always kept me very engaged. So I needed a job that was going to say, girl, when you go, you go. You know, at the mall, when you check out from your register, you're done. No customers calling you up. Do you have? So I looked at the job, but again, I started hyperventilating. I don't even want to work in TV. So then we get to April of 2014. And at that time, I come to Houston. It looks great. And one day I'm passing on the freeway and I pass this TV station, the same one that had that job posted. And I was like, okay, here's what I'll do. If when I get back to Los Angeles, that job is still posted, I will at least send my resume. Okay?
That was the test.
That was the test, exactly. If it's still there, because again, I knew enough not, I can't force it. You know, I've been through enough. I'm not forcing it. If it's there, it's there. I'll send it. We'll see. And so this was on a Monday. I traveled back to Houston. On a Tuesday, I send my resume to the Houston station. Now, that same day, I get an email from my supervisor where I was currently working, okay? And she says, I want to talk to you about next season. We were getting ready to go on hiatus. She wants to talk about next season. I was like, this ain't how I was planning this thing out. I was just going to leave. And, you know, we talk about it when we get. And so she said, I can talk to you tomorrow. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, come on now. Like, I'm not coming. I knew I wasn't coming back. Like, I'm not coming back.
But don't you think that's interesting how when you make a decision, okay, I'm doing this and it feels right, everything is right, the plan is in motion, and then there's always that tug that wants to pull you back to the other side.
Absolutely. And I think here's what I know now being on the other side of it. I won't even call it a test, but it was how bad do you really want it? Mm-hmm. Because what happened to me was amazing things. I had 2 offers before I left Los Angeles. One of them would have paid me more money than I would have ever made in my career. Like literally, It's there. And then, so this Wednesday comes and it's time for me to have my meeting. And I sit at my desk and I said, okay, Lord, you know what I have in the bank. You know what I'm planning to do. You're going to have to take care of me. Like my arms were literally stretched out because I talked to God like that. We cool like that. I talked to him like, I said, you're going to have to take care of me. You know, I'm about to go in here and quit this job. You know, I'm about to walk away from everything that appears to be perfect and amazing. And oh my God, you have your writer's guild. Like, oh God, that's your pension. And I'm walking away. I'm tapping out. Like, I'm good. Sliding those chips back to the other side of the table. And literally, I don't have a job lined up, Shuli. Remember, I don't have a job. I sent one resume. One resume. But I boldly go and quit a job. Right? So I quit the job, and that's a Wednesday. I leave and I go to a dental appointment. Thursday, I'm in the CVS getting a prescription because I had to have a root canal. It's a running theme for me in this life of mine. And I get an email, and the subject line, it says, Tara Roberson resume. And I'm like, this is really strange. What's that? And I go, oh, that's the resume I had sent on the Stay with me, girl. So listen, I get the email, and it says, hey, I'm calling, I called you yesterday, but I'm just making sure you got my message. Please, I want to talk to you. So I write back and say, listen, I just had a root canal. I'm on medication. And because I'm so open and honest, I go, if you talk to me right now, you would not offer me any kind of job. I said, so I would love to talk to you tomorrow. I go into my phone and I look at my voicemail. At 11:46 on that Wednesday, I went and quit my job. At 12:23 that same day, the one resume I sent yielded a call. So when I saw those pieces coming together, I was like, okay,
it's time. Look, touchdown.
Because what I've learned is that we make life difficult for ourselves, because sometimes we've been taught to be persistent and, you just keep going and you just keep doing it. Sometimes if it ain't working for a reason, and so what I found was that finally something was coming with ease. Finally, something was moving in the direction that it needed to move in, and I didn't have to force it. It was coming with ease, and it was absolutely lined up with what I was desiring in my heart. Because the position that was posted that I originally applied for, was not even available anymore. What they called me about was something that was absolutely, completely related to all of my transferable skills. And so when it again came with ease, I knew, okay, this is what it is. Because I wanted it so badly, I told you, I left a 6-figure job and I came to make a part-time wage, an hourly wage. I haven't made an hourly wage in I don't know how long, okay? So you know what they do, right, with an hourly wage. Like every moment you're there, like you're literally looking at the clock because you're like, okay, that's a little bit more money. That's a little bit more money. And so, exactly. And so I'm just like, okay. But in my mind, though, I didn't care. Like, I didn't care what I was walking away from because I knew it had to be better. Whatever I was walking into had to be better. And so I, at that moment, began this reinvention. Like it started falling into place. I found an apartment sight unseen, did an application via phone. The lady said, I will take it off the market for you. And I wasn't talking about an apartment over, you know, in the sticks or in the hood or whatever. I'm talking about River Oaks. That's where I moved to. So again, when things started coming with ease, it made me know and it convinced me that this is where you need to be. So that's how the reinvention started. And, you know, there are many more parts to the journey, but that's how I got.
It's powerful, though. It's so powerful because the things you're saying, you're talking about following your intuition and just stepping out on faith and being courageous. And I mean, people have so many hopes, dreams, and desires. And like you said, visions, they can see it.
Yeah.
But like you said, so you have the vision over here, and then you have, like you said, the journey to the vision. And I think it scares just for lack of a better term, it scares the hell out of people.
Absolutely.
And because of that fear, they just stay right there in that safe and comfortable place. And like you said, and continue to die. So what do you have to say about that fear? Because I'm sure you had to be afraid.
Absolutely. There's fear, but there's also a point where you have to do it afraid. That's not a phrase I coined, but it's one that I believe in. Sometimes you have to do it afraid. You have to absolutely make the moves. I don't believe in doing anything without a plan. Okay. And so none of me coming back to Houston was just willy-nilly like, oh, I'll go and see what happens. No, I had plan A and I had plan B. Plan A was I had enough money to support myself and my daughter for a certain amount of months until we were able to figure it out if I didn't get a job immediately. Plan B was if I needed to, I could have lived with my parents until, again, which would have given me a much easier situation. And they wanted that. But because I'd spent so many years away growing myself up, I left Houston for Los Angeles when I was 33. That's when I finally grew up. I grew up then. And it was based on me not having that village and that safety net in place. So, you know, if someone has never had an opportunity to get away from family and kind of make it on your own, I absolutely advise give it a try, because you never really know your strength until you have to actually like flex those muscles. So that's the first thing, like that. But do it afraid. There are going to be moments when you absolutely are terrified about what's going to happen. But here's what I will say. If you've gotten to the point where you know this isn't working, what you tell yourself is anything has to be better than this. And that's what I was convinced of.
Yes.
Wherever I was going, whatever I was moving towards had to be better than the life that I was living, that was making me work 18 days straight sometimes, was making my daughter either have to come to work with me on weekends or spend weekends with family friends and, you know, her schoolmates or a nanny, and me paying someone a salary, like for real, you know, so it had to be better. And when we stop thinking about all of the things that society tells us, because see, society is going to tell you you need that job title. Society is going to tell you, but who are you without that? Like, but that's what people know you for. Like, Where you going? You going working local? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Like, who does that? Because like it's the opposite, because people from local markets,
absolutely, they aspire for it.
The epitome is to get to LA, to get to New York.
And I encourage anyone to go after your dream, but at the same time, for me, here's the thing, Shirley, I didn't get run out of LA. I left on my own accord. I left feeling damned accomplished. Mm-hmm. I was a supervising producer on a national show. I have 2 Emmy nominations. I've worked on the #1 talk show in the country. I've done amazing things for a little Black girl from the northeast side of Houston. So I didn't leave there feeling like, but if only I could have gotten on a show. You know what I mean? So when you look at it, then I was like, well, what am I sitting here for? Like, why am I staying around? Like, what else is there to be fulfilled? And I felt, for me, that I was good. Like, I needed to go on a different level. And sometimes you have to go away from being the small fish in the big pond to being the big fish in the little pond, right? And so my skill set absolutely made me stand out from others here locally or whatever, just because not a lot of people have worked on talk shows and had that experience and developed shows with companies. And so I knew my worth. I knew what I was coming to. But again, like I said, if it meant I had to go to the Starbucks, I just knew I had to make a change. So you will absolutely do things in fear, but it doesn't mean that you cannot make those movements, because otherwise what you do is you sit there and you're miserable because that's what you're used to and that's what you know. Well, at least I know that. Well, at least what's the phrase? At least you know the devil you sleeping with.
Exactly.
I say don't sleep with the devil at all. Like, go move to a whole different bed. And like,
hey, don't play.
Exactly. Why are you even entertaining him? Yeah. So for me, I say you will absolutely do things in fear, but you just do it afraid. I sing at church. People don't believe this, but I'm incredibly shy. Mm-hmm. Incredibly shy. So yeah, I know. I am by nature. Again, if allowed, I could sit in the corner and be cool with it, or I could go out there and I could be talking to all these people like I am right now. But again, doing it afraid. You cannot be afraid. Make a plan, put it in place. It's like you want that steak on your plate, but you can't put a whole steak in your mouth. You have to cut it up and you have to digest it piece by piece by piece. And I say the same thing for anyone out there who's trying to make a transformation, who's trying to change their life, who's trying to say, this ain't working and I know it can get better.
Period. You got real with yourself. You really just leaned into the vision. You leaned into the change. And I'm sure there had to be challenges. And I think, again, you have your fears, and then maybe some things you tried, they failed or whatever. But I just think people feel like it has to be perfect for you.
So because, again, remember, you don't know what's in my box. You just see my box and you see my pretty bow on the outside. So I moved to Houston and I began working this job. And I'm like, this is a great job. It gets all of my skill sets and everything, blah, blah, blah. And I start working and I'm like, oh, something is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so there was a scenario where, personality-wise, it wasn't a good match. It was absolutely not a good match. Now, that's difficult for me to say as a professional because I never let personal get into the way of me doing business. Mm-hmm. But personality-wise, it just wasn't the perfect mesh, and it wasn't for my part. But here's the beauty in that. Because, again, I believe in having a plan. So when I see something is like crazy, I quickly, I don't do that. Because I've spent so much of my life where I had to deal with crazy and I had to deal with bullshit. But for that, what I would always say is, I get paid a lot of money to deal with bullshit. Mm-hmm. I can't make this and deal with it. It's the truth. You know what I mean? Like, it's so everybody's level of tolerance for BS comes at whatever it's worth to you. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, this don't feel right. This ain't looking right. So mama gonna start moving around. Mm-hmm. And what was told to me was, even if that doesn't work out, I have a job for you here. Okay. So I was like, okay, God, this is good. Like you're telling me that it doesn't matter about that, because remember, I thought I was coming for this one thing. I ran into difficulty, but up ahead was what was really what was intended for me. So this small job got me here, but the bigger one was what he had in store. But it was just kind of like, I got to get you here, and then I got this blessing for you, but this blessing is not ready for you just yet. And so I then went from being part-time to promoted to full-time. Okay? And I can look back at it and say, because again, when you feel like you've been in a lion's den and you've dealt with, like a lot of crazy and just uncontrollable things, a barking dog doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
And so for me, because I'd had so many challenges on larger scale, anything smaller that I was like, oh, I know how to deal with this. You know what I mean? And that was the beauty of it all. That was the beauty of all of those years. Remember, there was no regret, because with everything I've been through, there was a lesson. And so I came, there was challenge, move forward. And now today, that personality conflict is someone who I absolutely adore, and who adores me back, and who, because I don't take it to heart. It's not personal. Some people just they shouldn't work together. You know what I mean? And so the lesson, like I said, was not that wasn't what I came for. That got me here.
Yes.
That was not what I came for. But I get here, and I also then start praying, God, give me divine connections. Divine connections. Now, at the time, I didn't know what that meant, but I knew whatever I had in my life, I needed it sent by him. Okay, so divine meaning from him, connection meaning being connected to people. I want divine connections.
Yes, all day.
That's all I want. Divine connections. And beautiful things have happened. I've met amazing, even meeting you. You get what I mean? Like, again,
connection, yeah.
We talking about what's in my heart and what's meditating. I can tell you a couple of years ago, being in LA, saying, but I saw the platform as he was going to have me talking to church groups, but I still cussed a little. I'm sorry.
Just stretch your hands.
Exactly. No. And obviously, if anybody wants me to talk to their church group, I absolutely can. I know how to keep it together. But I saw me sharing my story. But because at the time that was the only platform I knew. You have the women's programs, and you go there and you talk and I saw that, and I was open to it. And so that's why I'm here right now, because I understand that there's someone right now who's stuck and who's trying to figure it out, and who's just like, it ain't working. It's not working. And I've been there. I've been on all sides of it. I've been at the point where I felt like I was going to lose my mind over just silliness and stress and crazy. I've been at the point where I felt like I was a horrible mom because I wasn't spending the time with my daughter that I wanted to, or that I thought she deserved. But thank God for grace, and thank God for that little girl's heart, because she hasn't missed the beat. You know what I mean? Like, she brings up crazy stuff where I'm like, really? Really, it wasn't this one that I thought this was what was gonna mess you up, but she's like, remember that party I had? It was the worst of my life. And I'm like, if that was the worst, then we good.
We are good, girl. So yeah, building blocks. That's what I've heard. So many building blocks. Like you said, even the challenges took you to the place where you needed to be. And as we get ready to wind down and take a couple of questions from people.
Oh, absolutely. I know we've just been talking. Are people there? Hello, y'all want to talk?
Hey. Yeah, we have some people on, and this is the chance for you all to ask questions if you have any questions. I just think your story, again, is so, so, so wonderful, because it's filled with so many lessons. Not even enough time. Like, we have an hour on this blab, but just we don't have enough time. You have so many lessons and you've learned so many things. But I guess if you were to challenge the people who are listening right now, either giving them, I'm one of those, okay, so you have a problem? That's fine. That's cute. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? So how would you challenge them or give questions or something for people to actually start exploring to get to the place of reinventing themselves and living their life?
Absolutely. And I think it boils down to the simplicity of asking, what is it I really want? And I know that sounds like so simple, but it's monumental when you think about it, because the answer, it's not the question, but it's the answer to that question that causes pause. That's what causes pause. But I promise you, if you just do a little bit of the work, if you just dig in a little bit, you can absolutely not be afraid of the answer of that. And not only getting the answer, but also being able to actually make it happen. You know, and I truly believe that, because I told you, we BS ourselves. We say, I'm good. No, it's fine. I like this life. But you don't. You know, whether that's you're staying in the relationship just because it's convenient and it's comfortable. And if everybody's like, well, girl, that's a good man. But if he don't feel good to you.
Exactly.
You know, and so I think the biggest thing is asking, what do I want? And this doesn't mean that, I think that my story is so, and who knew it was a story at the time? You know what I mean? Like literally, it was my life.
Yeah, you were living it.
You know, I'm sitting there feeling like an episode of Good Times, scratching and surviving. Like I'm just trying to make it.
Yes.
But if there are any parts of it that can be of help to someone, the biggest thing I'll tell you, your story transforming and being reinvented may absolutely not be you moving to another state and getting a different job and walking. It's not that, because I will tell you, there are difficulties. There were challenges. I took about a 60+% pay cut, like literally, maybe even more than that when I think back to the part-time salary. I told you, I was making in a month what I used to make in a week. And that really bothered me. That messed my head up, because I had been able to make decisions and do stuff that I needed to. There was a freedom that came along with those finances. And so what happened is I had to get real uncomfortable, like real uncomfortable. But again, it worked itself out. And I finally let go of, I'm not defined by that. I'm not defined by what I used to make and what I used to have. I'm not defined by that at all. So back to the question, what do you really want? And then make a plan. I believe highly in vision boards, and not just because you're going to stick words on a board, but you, again, this is your meditation. This is what you truly want and desire. And then it's every day I am being reminded of that. And then every day I'm moving closer towards that with an intention. I'm not just sitting on my butt. You can't tell me I want love, but you just sit in the house all day. You got to move around. You got to move around. Like you have to. Again, your actions should not be contradictory to what you're talking about. I need to lose weight.
That's good.
I think I'm drinking green smoothies. I'm doing everything I can to move towards.
Hey, you're up for that. You're right. Yes.
I'm doing everything I can towards that goal, because otherwise, a vision without action is just some words on a board, you know? And so I again, it goes back to, what do you really want? And then not being afraid to answer the question, and then not being afraid of the steps that have to take place in order for that question to actually come to fruition. The answer, rather, to come to fruition. Don't be afraid. Like, ask, what do I really want? And start making those steps to make it happen, because I'm living proof that it can happen. I'm not telling you that it's going to be easy. I'm not telling you that you're not going to have those days where you cry. I'm not telling you you're going to have those days where it's just, you know, it's hard. But at the same time, I know for a fact that this life right here, the one I'm living now, is 1,000 times better than the one I was living when I made the big salary, when I worked on the big show, when I lived in a great town, and when I had the apartment that I love so much. It's better.
Yes.
It's just better. And being able to strip down all that stuff, because it was stuff. It was stuff and things.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day. Like at the end of the day, it wasn't anything that, it wasn't the tangible. Like I have in the past, what, I think it's about 18 months now, 18, 19 months, I've had more experiences with my family and being able to be with my parents. And, you know, those things were more important to me than me there. Like, what do you do if you work a job every day and you don't even have time to enjoy what you do make because you're at that job every day? My daughter has both sets of her grandparents who are alive. And so it's like, why am I out here paying people to take care of her when she's got relationships that need to be nurtured, you know? So it ain't easy, but it can be done.
And that's the perfect way to just close it. It ain't easy, but it can be done. And I love it. And I've enjoyed this blab with you. This was my first. Yay! It was everything that I knew it would be, which is why I wanted to have you on. And I don't see that anybody has any questions.
You guys have any questions? What are your plans, guys? What are you guys planning on doing? Who's there? Who's got the new resolutions and the things that okay, let's see. People are talking. Let's see, to ask a question.
It was awesome. I put that in there. So if you want to ask a question, feel free. This is the time to ask the question of Tara. She has wonderful nuggets.
Oh, wow. You used an hour, Shuli. What the heck, girl?
Look, I knew it. I knew it could happen. I already knew. And when you have a story,
it looks like we had some retention, so hopefully people did enjoy it. I mean,
tell us what you think. Give us some feedback at this time. We want to hear your feedback. Tell us, do you have any questions? And then also tell us if you enjoyed it. So I will be back again, actually next week. So I'll do a blab on Monday motivation.
Okay, hold on. Someone is asking, yes, how do you make, hey, Brandy.
Hi, Brandy.
Yes, how do you make plans or get anywhere if you don't have a support system?
Oh, wow.
Here's what I will say for you, Brandy. You have a support system. You just haven't found the right one. Because what happens sometimes is we're so used to dealing with what we know right now, right here. But you got to expand it. You absolutely have to expand it and know that there are people out there who are wanting to support you, who are wanting to help you, who are wanting to push you forward in whatever those goals and dreams are. And at the end of the day, though, and this is the hard part, because Shuli and I talked about this earlier, honey, sometimes you got to go alone. And that means if no one else gets your vision, if no one else sees your plan, if no one else understands why it'll work, you still have to do it. You still have to do it. You set little goals, you achieve them, you make them a little bit bigger, you achieve them, you make them a little bit bigger, you achieve them. But don't limit yourself by the folks who surround you, who may or may not support your goals or your dreams or your aspirations. Like, you have to literally dig in and know if you don't get it, no one else will. Like, nobody is going to hand anything to you. Because, I mean, I've had a life where, especially like younger years, like 20s and stuff like that, you're so lucky, like everything just happened for you. And I'm like, you don't know the work. Like, you know, you don't know what I put in. And I would say the same to anyone. Like, you don't know what's in this box. So again, it may look like Tara's got all her shit together and she's got, you know, this and that. I'm just like you. I'm just like everybody else. Like, there is nothing different, but what I choose to focus my energy on, though, makes the difference. And what I choose to focus my energy on is those positive things. At the end of last year, I said, I'm logging off for a few days because I got a lot of stuff that I'm over here manifesting and, you know, that I'm attracting to myself and manifesting. None of those things were, but I knew what I wanted. And the beginning of this year has been beautiful. It has been absolutely beautiful because I'm in the mindset of, I'm just going to attract some stuff to me.
Yes.
I'm just going to attract some stuff to me, and what's good, I will manifest, and what's not mine, I will put back out there in the universe, but I'm going to attract some stuff to me. And so you have to start with, if nobody else will go with me, because otherwise that means you're just going to sit on the couch and nothing happens.
Right.
But you got to be willing to go alone.
Okay. We have a question. So from Texas? Well, first, Kendra said, you have inspired me, Tara. I love hearing your journey. And
that's my Kendra. Hey, honey.
Okay. So she's ready.
We worked together on our first TV jobs, like way, way, way back in the day. Our first TV jobs. Like I told you, I've met some amazing people that all these many years later, I still communicate with and I still have kept in touch with. Let's see. What's your approach when you step afraid? Step out of your comfort zone?
Comfort zone, okay.
Again, it goes back to doing it afraid. Here's what you have to do. Even if it's a little by little by little, if you know you can't turn back around, what else are you going to do? You have to move forward, right? Like it's hard, but it's not that hard. And because I don't know everyone's personal situation, I don't ever want to, dumb down things and say, well, you just do it. I understand. It's hard as I get it. Yeah. Like I get it. Believe me, I do. But again, making those small steps, whatever they are, you can't sit home and say, I really want to work in this field, in this industry. But when I ask you for your list of all the 50 people in that field industry you've called, you have none. You get what I mean? Like it's simple. You have to, and that's always
the word again. It's a do. You do action.
Always been my mindset. Like I can't. You know how people say, well, they told me no. I don't know who the hell they is.
Like, yeah, who are they anyway?
They don't have the power to tell me no, because I believe. I mean, it's an old school customer service trick. You call customer service and you talk to the first day and they say no. Oh, okay, cool, thank you. Hang up, wait 5 minutes. You call back, you get another person on the phone. Now, in between that call from person 1 to person 2, what you've done is pray, God, please send me a lamb instead of a lion. I believe in that prayer.
I call it the Wizard of Oz. Like, I just want to see the wizard.
Exactly. But I think that we give up our power to other people. It's okay to acknowledge every step of the way. I am absolutely afraid, but I'm going to keep moving. Even in networking situations, which I know can be incredibly uncomfortable for people, very, very, very uncomfortable for people. Just literally, okay, you may see 50 people in the room. Doesn't mean you got to go meet all 50, but if you make the goal of 2 people tonight, I will at least engage with and talk to. So you 2 people greater than what you were when you walked in that door with all that fear on you. Because you might start walking around the room and say, you know what, I want to talk to 4 more people. But it's the steps, and you can't, I don't have a lot of, I believe in helping people with any kind of a plan, but you have to, in my opinion, you have to be able to execute. You have to start somewhere.
You can have the most beautiful plan in the world, but if you never, like you said, pull the trigger on it, you're sitting there with this beautiful plan. And I'm a quote person, and I don't know who said this, but the words are, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And you just find yourself moving. And I've been in places personally where I feel like, well, I've come too far to turn around. Like, you're out there in the middle of the ocean, and it's just as easy to keep swimming forward than to go back. So it's just that forward motion. You have to.
It's so true. And that's the thing. It's like, but the thing is, so many people become paralyzed before they ever make the first step. And so that's what I challenge you all to do. I left a town. I moved with a baby. I left a job. I came and took a part-time job. I took an apartment sight unseen. I didn't have $10 million in the bank. I didn't have $1 million. You know what I mean? But I did it. I made that first step. That first step was sending a resume. And And I understand that these are things that there are people who say, I send 500. I get that. Believe me, I do. I also believe that there's a specific design and order on my life. So I don't want to in any way say, well, I sent one resume. What do you mean you sent? That's not what I mean. I understand that this is finally my season.
Yes.
Trust me when I tell you, I have sown a lot of seeds.
But that action, though, that's that action.
Absolutely. Even the beauty and I think sometimes we think that things are directly related to. So if I sowed the seed of I got you a job, then that means somebody's going to help me get a job.
Might not come back that way.
Exactly. That may not be the fruit that seed is going to bear. And so what I found this past year was that every seed that I'd sown years prior came back to me, but in very different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very different ways. So I think you just got to keep that positive mindset, and you have to make the first step.
I love it. Thank you so much. So tell everyone who's on, some of them might be people that know you, know me, know both of us, know none of us. Okay. Beard Gang says, iron sharpens iron. Great interview and very motivational advice from Ms. Tara. Yes, thank you. Give applause. So the way of giving applause on Blab is by tapping the screen and show.
Oh, yeah, tap your screen if you guys had a good time. Oh, yay.
Thank you so very much for coming. Tell us how to find you. If people want to link up with you, well, I'll say this. She's on Periscope and she's doing a very funny. Are you still doing that? Too Hungry?
We are.
Okay.
We have a coming next Monday. Good Lord.
So you can follow Tara at Tara Kiss on Periscope, and she's doing a funny, I guess, kind of docu-series of stories.
It's a vlog, I guess it is. It's called
It's funny.
Too Hungry, a vlog. It's Two Hungry Producers, and my coworker and I are hungry, and we're getting married, and we're like, well, not together, but we're getting married. Each of us. Oh God, I gotta fix that. Each of us are getting married, and one day I walked up to her and I go, I think we should do a show. And she's like, okay. And so we went and we did it, and it's basically our adventures of dieting. And we've gotten rave reviews. Our news director told us. Look, our news director, she stopped me in the hallway and she's like, so yeah, your show. And I'm like, oh God, I'm in trouble. She's gonna get me. But I do it on my lunch break, right? She's like, I love it. It's really good. She's like, this. I'm like, yes, my sister, because everybody deals with dieting and eating. So you can definitely find us on Periscope at Two Hungry Pro, and that's TWO Hungry Pro. And then I'm on Facebook under my personal name, but as far as any friend requests, like I have to approve because I keep my page private because, again, I've talked to like thousands of people across the country, and there were things about my life that I had to keep to myself because, you know, there were a lot of random people out there. But on Twitter, I'm at Tara Kiss, and on Blab, I'm at Tara Kiss. But I think that we underestimate ourselves and we underestimate our power by not making a move, by not making any type of a stride forward. So it can be done. It ain't easy, but it can be done.
So tune in. We'll have a guest, our guest actually coming up. We'll have Christy coming up next Thursday. And she is the founder of Women CEO Project. And it's all about, like you said, women kicking butt in business and branching out, taking a little and making it much. She's about strategy, and it's the same thing. Very encouraging, very powerful story. And I love it. We'll be bringing back more people with stories like yours, Tara, who have been consistent on their pursuit of purpose. And so join us on Mondays for motivation and Thursdays for our Speak Success interviews at 7 p.m. on Blab. And again, you can follow me at Shuli Gibb on Facebook, Twitter, Blab, Periscope, Instagram. It's at Shuli Gibb, SHULIEGIB. And at my website, www.speakingyoursuccess.com, where I offer speech tips to help you to put your best foot forward so that you have the tools to speak your success help you to overcome fears, and we give you strategy on improving your speaking skills. So anyway, so thank you so much for tuning in with us. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so proud of you for making this step and moving forward with your plan. You know, this is amazing. So I feel absolutely honored to have been your first guest. I hope that the people got something out of it. Let's continue to engage. Thank you, guys.
All right. Good night.
Bye.